And we're talking all things trucks and SUVs, and lots of news tonight, lots of excitement tonight. And so I'm hitting the go live button now for YouTube. Sorry, it always takes a little bit of time to get everything kind of sorted out. This is always kind of crazy. So let me click the button here and bring Jill back so you don't see a gray screen. There she is in all her splendid glory of cold Chicago. So much stuff going on. As per usual, 1,000 things going on. I'm letting my screen. Why is my YouTube not going live? Go live. Go live. Oh, it's playing an ad. So, naturally playing an ad. Yes. I see we're going live. I know, Jill's on her way. We always got to do this game. There she is. There
I always blame you for the technical difficulties because I'm just here hands-free.
That's probably the problem. No, there's always a little lag of. I have actually gone back and through these live streams, actually cut up for like 10 seconds because it's just the way things work out, whatever's going on. So, lots of cool stuff happening. I wanted to start with an announcement, a very cool announcement. Sometime in December, I think I came up with this idea, is that this channel used to be a podcast. Jill and I did podcasts back in the day, and we did them for, I don't know, we did like a year, probably, a podcast. We did a lot of them. And
Yeah.
I ended the podcast because I couldn't make any money off the podcast, frankly. Podcasting is very competitive, and there was no money. But then I decided in December that, well, why not? What the hell? I'm making money on YouTube. Let's invest it in the podcast. So you can now find the Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk podcast is actually live on Apple iTunes. Just got the email on that a little bit ago. Google Play and I think the Android store or whatever. So I just paid for the paid plan for podcasts, if you will. So please check it out. 10 of you already did over the holidays, which I didn't even say anything, and all of a sudden 10 people were watching that, listening to the podcast. So these live streams are not for everyone. I realize not everybody's got an hour to spend. But as I was driving back from Michigan with the F-150, it became very clear that I listen to podcasts on the road, and maybe you do too. So if that's you, then you go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. And I will continue to take these live streams and put them into podcast format, and that way, two birds, one stone. Yeah, all that stuff working on. So that was my big announcement there. The second big announcement was you guys saw in the driveway, just did some live streams in different places, Facebook, Instagram, and video went up. Duramax diesel in the driveway, plus a Ford F-150 Limited, plus the XLT Ford that I just bought. Yeah.
You've got a couple of long days ahead of you, is what you're saying.
I have a lot of long driving ahead of me, and you know what's really fun? I'm getting the Dodge Durango Hellcat on Thursday, and I'm trying to figure out like
Okay, send that one to Chicago.
I know. So I'm trying to figure out how that fits in the mix of all this stuff and what I'm going to end up doing with it. So I've already spent a lot of time on the road, so I'd be curious to see what happens. I was thinking and I don't want to copy my colleagues in Boulder, but it would be kind of fun to do a 0 to 60 drag race kind of thing with the Durango and the hybrid and the diesel. It would be kind of fun, I guess. I think. I don't know. I really don't know what to do with the Durango Hellcat. It's pretty fun and exciting. I also was thinking about something that we were going to talk about the what's going on in GM. There's lots of new GM news if you guys aren't paying attention to that stuff. Thumper be thumping. 99 problems, but a truck ain't one. I know. Have a drag race. Yeah, 20-way drag race like the others do. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. It's gonna be funny. But we have lots of stuff going on in GM, and I wanted to share some things. So they had a CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. They're doing 3 keynotes. Mark Royce is going to be, I think, on tomorrow, and probably be announcing some trucks. But today they had the Cadillac Lyric, a Cadillac Scante or something or other.
No, it's called the Celestique.
Celestique.
I wrote it down because I was like, that's a weird name. Celestique with a Q.
Yeah. So it's that, and they're trying to do a flying Cadillac, maybe concept thing, a flying car, which is kind of strange. A lot of weird stuff going around. Do a walk around your garage. Yeah. Oh, David Brown says do a 120 mile per hour loop with the Hellcat. Yeah, I definitely could. So they have a lot of stuff going on, and the big controversy this week, and I'm going to put this on the screen because I think I figured
Hmm. Can. So can I start by giving you my editor's opinion? I'm really bothered by the lowercase. Uh, and the thing is, I don't know. Are you familiar with E. E. Cummings at all? Do you know who that is? He's a poet. He's one of my favorite poets in the world who
Hmm.
uses lowercase letters and capitalization in weird places and things like that. Anyone lived in a pretty how town, if anybody's familiar with that, favorite poem ever. And so like I get this is not new. I mean, what, he was back in the 1940s, 1950s, so this is nothing new. But the lowercase lettering on a professional logo, it just somehow bothers me. And this is also from somebody who often types notes without capitalization, but it's personal notes, not notes that I'm putting out there for the public to see. I would never write an article without capitalization. So that, I have to tell you, completely overwhelms every single other opinion that I have about that logo, is the fact that it's lowercase. I'm weird. I get it, but that's it.
Yeah. So it sounds like I have an audio issue. Can you guys hear me now? I'm gonna put this out there. So it seems like when I switched that image, it cut my audio. This is a very tricky system we're
But
using.
they can only hear me.
They can hear you.
Oh, that's what the world should be.
Yeah, you better start carrying the show here, Jill.
Oh. So can anybody hear Tim, or is it still just me?
Oh, we're getting yes. Agreed. Yep. Yeah. So I'm back. So apparently,
Or maybe they're agreeing with me about the lowercase letters.
they could. There we go.
Or yes, we don't want to hear
No.
Tim.
Jeff Grady's
I
saying I can hear you now, Tim. So thank you, Jeff, for clarifying that.
Okay.
You guys are really giving Jill a big. So that was interesting. When I changed the image, it lost my logo. I lost my. When I changed the logo image, I lost my audio. Blah 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 blah. So there you go. There's the thoughts on the logo. I thought it was unique. I don't know. It's a weird one. But I also I kind of want to give GM some props here, and because I think they have a really good idea of how to pay for all that electrification you're doing. And so I'm going to play a video, and you guys can tell me whether they get audio or not. But let's try this video, because I have this stuff queued up. I'm
10 seconds from now, we'll find out if we have a technical difficulty.
Right. So this is guys, cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. Here we go. But I really like this idea that they're doing. Let's see if I can't press the button and play it.
This is no ordinary delivery system. And this is no ordinary shipping pallet. It's the BrightDrop EP1 e-pallet, and it's part of an electrified and connected delivery ecosystem. BrightDrop is designed to help reduce touches, errors, labor costs, and physical strain on your workforce, which allows you to transport goods from the warehouse shelf to the retail shelf and right to your front door. With precision management tools you need. All BrightDrop products are monitored by fleet and mobile asset management platforms. From concepts that move goods over medium distances to rapid loading vans, powered by the Ultium battery platform. BrightDrop has been designed to help reduce total cost of ownership, maximize productivity, improve safety, and lower your carbon footprint by enabling efficient deliveries. Backed by robust support services, BrightDrop is an integrated ecosystem that can help transform how you deliver goods and services. This is
All right, so now we're back. I was going to talk during that, but I figured I'd let Jill watch it because I know she's had a really busy day, may not have seen that. That was my big takeaway from the whole thing. That makes sense. Oh, I got to stop the video again. But that makes a lot of sense to me. You know, I've always thought to pay for these expensive EV technology, do commercial first and sell a bunch of vehicles, and that pays for the EV stuff. And standardized shipping creates... I already used to work at warehouses, and having pallets and piling pallets up, it's a huge, huge pain in the butt. And so, you know, like Thumpin' Be Thumpin' says, standardized container system is probably great. Look what they did for the maritime shipping industry. That's very true. You go to the docks and you see shipping containers all over the place, standardized shipping containers. And so imagine how efficient that would be. And you're thinking like Amazon, and GM signed an agreement with FedEx to use their those new electric vans. And so FedEx is already buying into this. You get a company like Amazon buying into this. So I think that you'd still have, you know, a diesel probably truck that does the big interstate run, right? And then this is the last mile delivery, which they call that. This is the last from the distribution center to your house kind of setup going on. So I can see it. In this area where I live, 250 might do the entire day. There's some rural customers out there that take a long loop, but I think they might be able to do the entire day. And so again, if you have a self-contained driving system like a delivery service, and you have overnight charging because they are off at 5, UPS plugs it in, whatever. I think it works. I think it makes a lot of sense. My 2 cents.
Yeah, and so the funny thing is, like, I listened to Mary Barra's keynote, and that was the one part of the whole thing that I skipped. I wanted to hear about the consumer technology. I wanted to hear about the cars. I wanted to hear about Cadillac. I was looking to see if they showed anything from the truck, if they showed the Bolt EUV. So I was listening for all that, and then we got to the shipping stuff, and I was like, skip. So I find it funny that was your one takeaway, whereas my one takeaway from her keynote presentation was that the Bolt EUV is going to be in dealers this summer.
This is why we work well together, because we pick apart different pieces. That's really funny. I also that's
oh
funny.
Man.
Yeah, so we have different points of view. Let me answer. Joel has a question when they bring back the side step truck beds. They're not, Joel. It's not coming back. But I think it's really interesting because I see all the EV technology that they're doing in the Cadillac, right? So they have you had the Escalade. They had the big OLED screen, and the whatever those other ones they had, the Lyric and different things that I can say. They have the big digital screens and such, and I'm like, I'm not interested at all in that one bit. I find it more stuff to break. Like even the Ford F-50 outside, the Limited versus the XLT, the Limited screen is all digital and it really bothers me. Like I just don't care for it. And the XLT's got mechanical gauges for the tach and the speedometer, and I like that so much better. It doesn't look as well as the full digital does in Limited, but I'm not a fan of all the digital. So I found that really interesting.
And I love the digital stuff. So
yeah, yep. See, different people. Now there was something really cool. What was that one? The Escalati Q. What the hell is that?
Oh, I'm just gonna let you keep messing that up a lot. Celestique.
Celestique.
Yeah, with a Q crazy. At the end.
I did
Lyric Q at the end. Celestique Q at the end. Yeah.
I see the trend. That one's pretty interesting because they have 4 individual panels in the roof, 4 individual sunroofs, and they can be individually controlled by each person. Now, what's interesting is when I do the trucks with the panoramic moonroofs, like I have one outside, I get a lot of criticism about leaks. And so now I'm thinking you have 4 panels that could leak. I thought it was cool, but then I also thought, like, wait a minute. And then it's all ambient lighting, too.
But I'm wondering if it's actually 4 panels or just 4 areas of the glass, like, that are wired like that are controlled like with wires between the panes. Like Land Rover now, I don't know if you know this, but instead of having like the vents like heat the windshield, they have wires, like little wires in the windshield, and you can see them like if you look close. But when you're back far away, you just kind of see through them. So I'm wondering if there's going to be that kind of technology. So wires going through it, that it would then just affect like one part of the glass. So I think they used bad language by saying panes. Like, I don't think it's going to be 4 panes of glass. I think it's going to be one sheet of glass with this wiring that would be connected to. But I mean, still a lot of stuff that can break.
Yeah. Cool stuff. There was a question. I think Jill's going to answer this one. Can you guys give us a quick update what a Bolt EUV is? This is like a...
I don't think we can.
I don't know if I know.
They haven't really said anything.
No,
that's why my one takeaway was that it's going to be available this summer.
And yeah, there's been like
we don't know anything about it.
I think it's, well, we've seen it in... I have a friend who always posts my Facebook wall. Always got to correct me and everything, but he was saying there's a shape similar to it been unveiled in China, and that it's basically a compact SUV. So I think it's the Bolt, but bigger. And so SUV,
like the V-Light or something from Buick, maybe.
Yeah.
I think is the SUV that was V-Light, Elite, however they pronounce that. I think that's the SUV that was revealed in China. But here they've revealed the Hummer truck that's not even going to be available until the end of 2022. Yet something that they are going to have in dealerships this summer, we haven't seen yet. Now, I wonder if that will be what they announce tomorrow.
Yeah, again, they have more announcements. My only criticism of the whole keynote that happened today was that one of the engineering guys for GMC and GM, whatever, said that driving the GMC Hummer was more exciting than jumping out of the back of a 30,000 foot in the air jet to skydive to the ground.
Yeah.
And I was like, you are so full of... There's no way. There's no way. So, yeah, it was rather interesting. Again, most of these presentations are big pie-in-the-sky stuff. They're hoping to get your attention, to get you fired up, and then we'll see what actually comes out on the market and what people buy. So it's going to be interesting what's going to happen with GM and their Ultium batteries are going... well, that's what they're putting out there. Philip, who's a huge Tesla fan and has been on the channel, I've interviewed him on the channel, says he feels like GM should focus on making hybrids, scrap their full battery vehicles, and just put that saved money into Tesla stock and Bitcoin. Talking like a true Tesla fan.
So here was another takeaway. I don't know, and I was running some errands, so I was kind of listening to this while I was driving, in addition to like doing some other things. So I think I heard that the capability of the first generation of the Ultium battery is a range of 450 miles. And I think that's probably top end, like with their best battery pack, whatever. But they're looking at 500 or 600 miles of range with their next generation of the battery that they're creating. And they had another name for it, and I can't remember what that was. Did you pick up on the name of the next? Because the first woman, I think, who spoke, she talked about they're already starting to work on the next generation, and it's going to be like 500 or 600 miles of range. So now I'm going to say, I do think Tesla did a very good thing for the automotive industry, and that they have spurred all of the other automakers to do better and to be better. My jury is still out whether or not Tesla will be able to stay the course for the long run.
Yeah, so Tesla's got a lot of stuff going. I mean, the Cybertruck, they have a semi they were working on. Sales were flat, I thought, year over year. They just either made their estimated sales or right below it or whatever. But they're a disruptor industry, and they've done a great job disrupting in the luxury segment of EVs. It remains to be seen who's going to disrupt the segment of trucks. I don't, Lordstown's saying they got 100,000 EV trucks pre-ordered, and 100,000 at 50,000 a piece isn't really that much. I mean, it's $5 million or something in that range. I mean, that's not a lot of money at all. And they keep like, yeah, we got 100,000, pre-orders put in. Well, you got to take those pre-orders, you got to convert them into customers and make them into sales. And it's not really, that's not a lot. Hummer was talking about, they sold out first edition, which continues to piss me off. It's like, we sold out our first edition. It's like, well, you don't tell us how many that is. You just say you sold out. Great,
Yeah, there were probably 2 of them, and now they're all gone.
Yeah, check it out. Look. I'm sold out of hats. It's like the same. It's like, come on, you can't just say that you sold out and all of a sudden that's an amazing thing. So that irritates the crap out of me. But I understand all this energy behind it, but there's still some big questions to be asked about how does it do towing? How does real world work out? I've been driving the hybrid around. I've been driving the limited around. I'll drive the Silverado around diesel. And, we all know that EPA numbers are BS. And so what's it work in real world look like? What, I think EVs are a great solution for Jill. I can see them working in Chicago really well. But, I've argued for the longest time that people in Chicago don't buy a lot of trucks because they shouldn't. I mean, the Bolt EUV is perfect for Jill. I think that small SUV in a city, fine. But looking at a crew cab diesel dually in a city I don't know.
Okay, people in the city don't buy a lot of crew cab dualies, that is correct. But there are a surprising number of trucks in the city, both for personal and commercial use. You would be surprised. I'm always surprised. I mean, when I'm driving a truck, I notice other trucks. And there's probably, like, in my one block, one-way street, I would say there's probably 3 parallel parked on my street of people who live in my neighborhood on my street in this block.
Well, let me ask you this. That's
a lot.
Well, yeah, but did you notice those trucks before you started working for the channel, or now that you've worked for the channel, are you starting to notice them?
I mean, I will say when I was at my old place, when I was at my old place, so before I started working for the channel, yes. Although I do think I moved with you, but so last year, when I worked for the other place, I still had, like, I would always notice that where I lived, there was a parking up against the railroad track because I lived right across from the Metro. And so there was like slatted spots, so not parallel parked spots. And there were always like 4 or 5 in that were there overnight. And it was because, their trucks are probably hard to parallel park, or they didn't fit in their garage or whatever. Because I would always park in those spots when it wouldn't fit in my garage. So I remember, like, on another street over where there were slatted spots, there was a GMC. I think it was a Canyon. I think it was a Canyon over there. But there was a GMC vehicle. It was this beautiful green color over there. So yeah, I mean, I did notice them before, but I've been specifically looking for them here because this area is actually a lot more working class than the neighborhood I used to live in.
Really?
So.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a correction to make, and I'm going to do it one more time. Yaz is on here, and he's another Tesla fan. He's challenging me on my statement on what Tesla did year over year. And I'm looking at the numbers right now on Tesla Sales USA on Google, and I have them. They narrowly missed their mark in hitting 500 million or 500,000 units. They narrowly missed their mark. In the U.S., they sold 228,000 vehicles, and they were up 17% year over year, according to Good Car, Bad Car. And looking at 2018 to 2019, they actually saw a sales drop of 2018 to 19. And so I find it interesting that 228,000, and it gets more press than some truck makers get, which is I find pretty interesting. So had to put that out there as far as a correction there. Yeah, this is interesting. Philip wants to know, have you ever driven, Jill, have you test driven the Tesla Model Y or Model X, which is sometimes hard to do with Tesla. Have you done those?
I have not. They do not generally put out press vehicles. I have had one of our local dealerships reach out to me and say, hey, if you ever want to drive anything, you let us know. But that was a while ago, so I don't know if they would still be amenable to that. But I have not test driven because that was when I worked for the other place back in 2019. So they thought they would get a lot more coverage, but no. So I haven't. I'm curious. My brother-in-law owns a Model S, and that's really the only reason why I've spent any quality time with the Model S. But Tesla is notoriously bad at sharing with media.
So let me ask you this. So what are your thoughts on the Model S? Well, I mean, just overall electric vehicles.
Oh, I think it's absolutely a benchmark. I mean, that is what all other electric vehicles have to live up to. I mean, I'm not too much of a fan of the interior. I don't think the quality is quite there. And I know so here's what the true testament to somebody who's a Tesla fan. So if you or I go out and drive a vehicle, and in the middle of your test drive, it breaks down or the engine stops working, would you buy it? Or would you be like, this looks like it's going to be a little bit too much work for me?
Yeah, I wouldn't buy it.
So my brother-in-law, when he was first looking at Tesla, and this was probably 2014 when he bought his first Tesla, maybe 2013, because my husband and I were just dating at that point. And they gave him a Tesla to do a test drive, and it literally, as he's driving down the road, just turned off. And he bought it anyway. So, he was like just totally geeked out over the car and an early adapter and all of that kind of stuff. But so he bought it anyway, and is now, I want to say, on his third Model S. So like people who like it love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they drive amazingly well. I love the one pedal system, the regeneration. I love the features. I think autopilot is a scam, and anybody who calls it autonomous driving, should be taken into the other room and like put duct tape over their mouth. But because it is not an autonomous vehicle, and I think autopilot is like the worst name ever. But I mean, I think it's a great vehicle. And as far as electric is concerned, that is the vehicle that all other vehicles need to measure up to, and not many of them do.
Okay, well, that's Deep Thoughts with Jill Simonello.
I know, and I could have gone on and on and on, and I'm like, oh, nobody really cares. I'm going to stop talking now.
One more question. Thumper be thumping. Do you guys think COVID-related production issues are still causing significant delays for manufacturers? Or are we essentially in the clear? I would say we're still seeing significant delays, but also a new delay. I don't know if you've seen the news on this, Jill. I've been kind of toying around doing a video on it. There is a microchip shortage that is causing lots of problems. Toyota is announcing they're going to cut back production of Tundra. I think Chevy is going to announce they're slowing down production. Ford's looking at slowing down production in the Kentucky plant. Nissan's got some production delays down in Mississippi. I don't remember the reason for the reduction in microchip production, but that is causing significant delays. And think about this, that truck production can slow down because of a microchip. So all you dyed-in-the-wool truck fans are going to have a problem with that. But yeah, that's the biggest issue right now, and I think we're still going to see a bunch of COVID-related delays. I think we'll see through 2021 some sales figures that are going to be asterisks next to them, because we'll see production delays all over the place, getting vehicles out. And yeah, I was fortunate to get my truck, because there's also all those F-150s in the lots and that were waiting for more parts. If you ever heard that story, there are a lot of trucks sitting on lots at the airport or whatever, just parked, because they don't have the parts. They're waiting for more parts. So Carl wants to know, hey Carl, if Altima will make Buick relevant again? No, not here in the U.S. They need a lot more than that. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of changes in the automotive market as far as that goes. But imagine microchips slowing down trucks, and now you're talking about EV trucks that use quite a bit of microchips, right? So
you would think it, one or two.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, so I know you aren't enamored with the digital displays, but I have to say, so like I had the Cadillac, and you saw the curved display, and it was actually 3 screens, so not just one full screen, but in the Lyric, when they were showing you the interior of the Lyric, and I think this might have been the first time we've actually seen inside the Lyric, it looks like it is fully one screen. And to me, that is just freaking really cool, and makes me think of a concept car. So, I mean, one of the things that I think General Motors is hopefully going to be able to accomplish with this EV onslaught is to make their cars cooler. And so to Carl's point, maybe Buick does become relevant again, because Buick is on the list to get at least one of the upcoming, did they say 20 EVs that are coming soon? And so, but I mean, I think that the interiors are going to look cool. They're going to look like a concept car. And I think that will help maybe push them ahead of somebody like Tesla, but only if they have the technology in the EV working correctly.
Yeah, I find it all really fascinating. From, my vantage point, I've been interviewing some EV advocates on the side, so I have some videos coming out on that. But I've been just talking with people over the years, and it's just interesting. Oh, speaking of an advocate, he just called me. But yeah, I think it's just interesting that we're at this point in time where you have trucks and SUVs never been hotter. You got GM that's basically making their payroll by selling trucks, and you have this whole other wing of General Motors going into EV, spending millions of dollars in EV production and producing things that historically EV sales have been slightly growing. I mean, the numbers I'm looking at were 1.58% of the automotive market was Tesla. So, I mean, just a teeny tiny percentage. And looking at some of the EV sales overall, I kind of point back, Acura has, is it Acura? One of them has an EV that got all the covers of Car and Driver and such, and then didn't sell very well. And so I keep thinking to myself, what are consumers going to say? What do consumers want? Are they going to really want this technology? The hybrid I have is the first time we've seen it in a full-size truck and done well. I mean, GM's done a mild hybrid in the past. Ram has a mild hybrid. This is a full hybrid. And I'm getting 1 mile per gallon better than the year before. And the 2.7 that they offer, that Ford offers, actually you can get better fuel economy out of that than you can the hybrid. And so I'm looking at this from a consumer standpoint, you're going to spend $3,000 in the XLT, $4,000 in the Lariat and trims to get this hybrid that doesn't really get you much benefit in the real world. Granted, you can get the 7.2 kilowatt inverter plugs in the back with the hybrid. You can't get it, with a non-hybrid. But it's a very interesting argument to have right now. Where is the benefits? And looking at companies like Rivian, which is always in topic, they're building a lifestyle activity vehicle, which I think is just a perfect way to say what they're building. It looks like a truck, but they're like, it's lifestyle activity. Awesome. I'm going to put a bike in the back. I'm going to go tenting. I can go camping with a tent or something. I understand from your marketing exactly what I'm getting into. And so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the future holds in trucks and SUVs, especially electric side.
But so, I mean, the point that Mary Barra made in her point or her keynote is that, they're banking on the fact that right now is the inflection point. And that they use that phrase over and over again, inflection point, inflection point, inflection point. And to say that this is the moment right now where EVs become mainstream relevant, are on a growth path. So, I mean, I don't know if that's true, but I mean, it's an interesting theory. And is it an inflection point because it's organically become there, or is it an inflection point because more people all of a sudden start to focus there? And if all you're going to get is an EV, you're not going to have a choice. I mean, you look at Volvo, and they've been saying zero emissions, zero accidents, zero whatever for a while now. And now all of a sudden General Motors is saying that. And so, I mean, the more and more automakers are trying to convert, if not everything to completely electric, to at least all electrified. So plug-in hybrid. electric.
Yeah.
No 100% combustible engines anymore.
Yeah, and like I go back to the same point. It's like right now, I think the best half-ton engine GM builds is the diesel, which gets zero love from anybody that's not in the EV side of business. I mean, the diesel doesn't get a whole lot of love from anybody in GM. It seems like it's not something that's very talked about. It's like a hush hush. We just built this. Well, it's like if you want everybody to go fully electric, but you're also still offering a diesel, and you're not doing a diesel hybrid, which I find kind of fascinating. Where are we at with this? And this inflection? Is it like a
inflection? Infection point.
It's like, to me, it's an infection.
No,
it's an infection point. They're trying to stab you with this EV and make you take it. that's what's going on here. And I don't know. Are we there? Are we really there? Is it time for EVs to crawl out of the basement, to become mainstream, and to finally get a significant boom in sales? You got Rivian coming out this year. You got Chevy's probably going to announce a truck tomorrow. You got GMC's doing the Hummer. I mean, are we at that point? And again, I'll be really interested to see, because right now my attitude towards it is lukewarm. I haven't really seen a lot of benefit in the real world driving. And yeah, I mean, my hybrid's fun to get on. It's got the 570 foot-pounds of torque, but I mean, I rarely do that. And that's one of the things that big selling point I've talked to people about trucks. It's like, oh, you can do 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds or something. Well, I guess. I've never.
For me,
I don't want,
it's not the 0 to 60 that's important. It's the off the line start. Like 0 to 30 to me is way more important than 0 to 60. And if you have a fast 0 to 60 time, the 0 to 30 time is also going to be decent. Because like in Chicago, in the city, like turning into traffic, you might have a window like this. And if you miss your window, then you're waiting another 10 minutes to get another window like this. So for me, it is the off the line start, the quick peppiness that you get from an EV, from an electric, from a hybrid, that pushes it in favor, especially for more urban driving. It's not necessarily the horsepower or the torque. It's the instantaneous part of it. The number isn't necessarily important. It's the instantaneous bit of it. Like one of my biggest problems, we've discussed this previously, one of my biggest problems with the auto stop start engine is the fact that you have no electric go when the engine shuts off. You have to wait for the engine to turn back on before you can go. So if you have lag and you have a turbocharged engine, you are not making this window. So
and I would say that
I think that it's off the line start.
Right. Well, and that's I would say that's one of the important things that I've noticed with the hybrid is that, auto start stop still kicks on, right? But it's in electric driving mode only at that point, and you don't lose your heating or cooling. It still has heating and cooling going.
And I don't think you can call that electric stop start. I don't think you can call that electric stop start. That is a hybrid powertrain.
Right, but it has a button I could turn it off. So I think, yeah.
But that you would be turning off your hybrid mode altogether then. You wouldn't be able to have any electric driving, I think, if you hit that off.
It maybe has a button.
It does not. I do not think it has a button.
Yeah, think about that one. Anyways, it does turn itself off, and then you're still on, though. So the engine turns itself off. So by that definition,
no.
Maybe. All right, so anyways.
No, because it's a hybrid. It's not the same thing. An auto stop-start engine is when the engine shuts off and has to turn back on for you to move. Otherwise, it's a hybrid. It's not the same.
So let's move along to Toyota. There's some conversation in the comments about the Toyota Tundra coming out with the hybrid. I mean, that's been a lot of conversation that's going on. Dropping the V8, going hybrid only. And I want to bring this up because there was a comment, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago in the YouTube comments, where somebody had said they were disappointed that Ford held back the fuel economy on the F-150 hybrid. They felt like Ford was doing its part to make it not be as efficient. They were sabotaging their own truck. And there's there's conversation that says, well, Toyota's hybrid's going to be better than Ford's hybrid because Toyota knows hybrids. And they're going to offer 30 miles per gallon in the hybrid. That's just what's going to happen. It's slam dunk, deal, done, over with. And I find this fascinating because physics hasn't changed. Trucks are getting larger, they're getting longer, they're getting taller. The curb weight, and I got to figure out the curb weight exactly on my hybrid, but I think the curb weight on my hybrid is more than the diesel half ton. So I got heavier, I got wind resistance, I got drag. I'm mystified by this thought that this technology exists and it's really good technology. So clearly we can make a 30-mile-gallon pickup because we have technology. We'll just use it. And I'm still like, it mystifies me how this all works. And the same thing happens with like when you look at the Cadillac stuff they unveiled today, EVs and things. We still have physics, like that still exists. And so I thought this truck would be perfect. The F-150 hybrid would be perfect in the city because you have a little bit less of that physics going on because you're driving in city and you're in electric mode more often. But I don't know. I just find it interesting. The Toyota Tundra should be out February, March is their historical time of year because Chicago Auto Show. I usually see Jill in person. We usually have fun and we see new trucks, but that's not happening. And I haven't heard anything from Toyota as far as what they're going, as far as what they're going to do with the reveal. But yeah, I don't know. At 30 mile per gallon, that's a lot. Like that'd be impressive. That'd be really impressive.
See them doing that if it was a plug-in hybrid. I don't know if they could do it as a straight hybrid. I mean, they would need to have a serious battery pack in there.
Yeah.
To be able to carry, I mean, because in essence, to get 30 miles per gallon, you're going to have to make sure the engine stays off for more city driving, which means you're going to have more like EV capability. So right now, like when you are in your truck, when you get to like over about 10 or 15 miles per hour, the engine turns on. I mean, I'm assuming. I only had a little bit of time with it, but
it does.
But so like you're going to need to be able to go up to 30 without the engine coming on, is what I'm saying. And if they can accomplish that, it's possible. And in a lot of the hybrids, once you get to 30, the engine will shut back off again. But by that time, you've already used the gasoline to, get it up there. So I don't know, but
I do.
I think plug-in hybrid, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so and I've been driving like I did hyper mile with it. I got 29.9 miles per gallon or 29.7 whatever. Hyper miling it. I do everything I can to stay in electric mode. The challenge is as the battery gets larger, so it's only a 1.5 kilowatt battery. It's not a large battery in this truck, but as the battery gets larger, you lose payload. And so, it's like, I'm like, well, there's a trade-off here of, and that's where the Ultium is trying to come out with. They're trying to make battery density be better so you can get cheaper battery. It's as Philip says, it's Wright's law. So you get cost decline. Battery costs have like dropped massive in the last couple of years. So batteries are cheaper and they're going to make the EVs cheaper. But until we get smaller battery density, better battery density, we can't put a bigger battery in these trucks, which means you can't get better fuel economy on city. And I find, I find it interesting, like Yaz points out, that I don't understand EVs and when F-150 comes out. I think I do more than some people in the comments. I've had people actually ask me, they're like, what is the battery-only range of the F-150 hybrid? It doesn't exist. There is no EV mode only because the system the computer anticipates what's going to happen as far as your throttle input, the time of day. Like in the morning when it's cold, it doesn't turn on the battery. It keeps the engine going to get the coolant going. So it leaves the electric power off, warming up. If I'm driving into wind, if I'm driving 70 miles an hour, it keeps the battery off completely. It just runs in gasoline mode only. I even was cruising downhill at 75 miles an hour and would not turn on battery only mode. It wouldn't turn electric mode. Just because, and it has in the 50s, but not in the 70s. And it's one of those situations where you could talk about, we should all drive in the 50s, it's better, safer, less crashes, whatever. But look at the technology in cars are better at higher speeds than they were in the past, in the 1950s for damn sure. I drive Swede, my 62, at 70 miles an hour, and I am holding on for dear life. It's white knuckle the whole way. so things have changed a lot, but I mean, national speed limits have gotten higher. So I'm confused by that thought on that. To me, when I read the comments from consumers on that truck, there's confusion all over the place. Like, the question was, will the hybrid make towing mile per gallon better? And I'm like, in tow haul mode, the battery will probably never kick on electric driving only. It'll help off the line, like Jill says. So you want to help that off the line. The battery engines can combine together. But and it's been interesting, like the comments I've gotten on that. To me, it's a small displacement V6, which is what the EcoBoost engine is, with turbos that's mated to a battery. That's what it is. There's no like secret sauce like back and forth. And looking at electric EV, it is it is a truck that'll have the front short storage frunk. I guess we're calling that. It's the
front trunk.
Yeah. So you have additional storage in truck, which okay, and it's just gonna be a big battery. So it's gonna be cool offline. You'll be hell. That truck is gonna be awesome during burnouts. It's gonna be absolutely awesome during burnouts. And drag racing is gonna be no contest to gasoline engines. It's gonna be fantastic. But we still got questions on charging time and how it all works, and whether consumers want it. And I just have lots of questions. So, yeah, and I do. All Train Nation says something. Dave says, he says, in 30 years there'll be no fun cars or trucks. And I think we're at this really interesting place where EVs are a lot of fun to drive. I've never argued that. And I've driven a Model S. It's a lot of fun to drive. My challenge with it is that driving for me is a visceral experience. I like hearing the engine. I like, having an exhaust note, that kind of stuff.
Well, and feeling the vibration of the vehicle.
Right. And so to me, that's going to be the fun part being gone, is that the experience of driving is going to be gone, which is going to stink. I'm going to be sad when that happens, when the performance offline trumps the exhaust note. I'm going to be sad about that. But I know that's coming. It's coming, right? So like my Ford hybrid sounds terrible. It just does. It's a V6. I don't even care about the exhaust note because it doesn't even bother. It's whatever.
Well, so did you go to have you seen the Mustang Mach-E at all in real life?
No, I haven't seen it in real life.
Okay, so I was at the LA Auto Show last year when they revealed it, and Ford brought us in for this whole big production, and the day before they were showing it to us, a whole bunch of information got leaked. There were several publications that got banned from attending this event because they published the information. And I was thankfully not one of those people, but they made a big deal about the sound that they created for this vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like 3 different modes. I can't remember what they are now. We have a review on our website by Sue Mead. You should read that if you're at all curious. But one of them was Whisper. I think there was like Enlightened or something like that, and then Unbridled. I don't know. But they came up with these sounds that sound nothing like an engine, and it was weird to me because they didn't even try. I mean, I guess it's good that they didn't even try. Because then you'd be like, well, that's fake sound. Like the BMW i8 pipes in fake sound. It's weird. But it sounds like you are listening to a vehicle from like Minority Report or, one of those incredibly futuristic movies. It's like, and it's weird. So you're right. Like that experience will be gone. But if you want to talk about fun and being able to be agile and zip and fast, like first off, you have to think about electric vehicles. Batteries now are at the bottom. So your center of gravity is a lot lower. And that means you're going to have a much better balanced vehicle. I mean, obviously it's going to be heavier, but it's also going to be better balanced. So, I mean, the potential there for fun, it changes. And yeah, I don't try and pipe in fake sound. Like that would just be way too weird. But, I'm with you. I'll miss the visceral nature of the engine and the feel of the engine coming through the gas pedal. But I to say they're not fun, I think is an untrue statement.
Yeah, I won't argue with the fact that EVs are fun. I mean, it's electric on demand. It's like flicking a light switch. Bam, there's your power. There's no argument there for me, and I think some people think I have the argument with that, but that's not the case. But yeah, I'm sad about exhaust note, but I look at real world situations, how we're going to use these, how it's going to impact your life, and how it's going to make things better. I mean, that's the goal, right? So, I think we all can appreciate the fact that if we're not polluting the environment, that's a good thing. That makes sense to me. That's what we want to do. I mean, And I also think there's a weird place where we're mixing new consumers of trucks in the sense of, look, nerds are buying trucks. And they're interested in buying trucks and cars. For the first time ever, I think nerds are really interested in buying cars, which I think is great because, when I was growing up, the nerds they drove whatever, but now they can drive these electrified vehicles that have all this cool technology in them, and I think that's fantastic, all right? And so...
I take offense to your usage of nerd.
All right, so people like Jill are really excited about it. No, but I think we're at the point, and you can see this in the chat, right? So we have, I'm not going to call people nerd openly, but, Yaz and Philip are maybe more EV advocates than some other guys in the chat. I mean, and so you have this point where you even see it right here in the channel, where you have these guys having these discussions about, EV power and what you don't get, and you don't understand what you're going to see, and we have these two sides that are just kind of going against each other. But what's great is I think these two sides hopefully will come together and we'll have a really good product for all consumers, whether you want EVs or not.
Would that be an inflection point?
Ooh, or it could be an infection point. So the nerds are infecting the cowboy redneck hicks, and it's becoming this whole thing. But I think it's really interesting, and I can't wait for tomorrow to see what's going to go on with Chevy's announcement, GMC's announcement of what's going to happen. I mean, it's let's do something. But I did have to wonder if and what's happening is GM's following Ford, maybe, and Ford's leading GM. They're kind of going back and forth. So Ford has the new Transit EV van that has up to 100 miles of range. It's got a really large payload capability. I can't remember what that is. And now you have GM's blue drop, what do they call the thing? Anyways, GM's van that gets 250 miles of range, and so you got these competitors that are fighting it out, which I think is fantastic. Let's get more and more competition out there because it makes everybody better. I mean, it makes everything a better world. I mean, people bash on Tesla, people say Tesla what's going on, but it's like, they have disrupted the marketplace and they have pushed GM and Ford and people to do better things and to make better products. So yeah, I'm really interested. Oh, then Riley says, then you got guys like me who like loud diesel and smell of diesel in the morning. I said to somebody, I was interviewing an EV advocate, and I said, I'm going to miss the smell of gasoline. And he was like, on Zoom, he was like, oh my God, how could you say you're going to miss that smell? I'm like, well, I mean, to me, when I think about like the growth of the automotive market and the enthusiasm, I think of muscle cars. I think of the Dukes of Hazzard. I think of NASCAR in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think of the guy that would tune the car on Saturday and race it on Sunday. I mean, that's what grew the enthusiasm in the marketplace. And now to take that guy and say, well, you don't want a gasoline car at all. BrightDrop's the name. I'm going to mess it up a dozen more times. But take that guy out and say that you don't need the smell of that. I mean, look at electronic. Is it the Formula 1 E or whatever that thing is?
Formula E.
It's barely getting people excited. And I watched some of the Formula E and I couldn't stand it. It sounded like gnats flying across the screen. It was like, I was like, this. It sounds terrible. And I'm sorry, but look at Ford versus Ferrari, a great movie. And it's all about the guys tweaking their own engines and the what they went through and how much dirt they had in their eyebrows and how exciting it was. And now we're gonna change that. It's gonna be, I don't know. It just sounds to me like I'm just less excited by that future.
Well, in a way, it kind of circles back to a discussion we've had previously. Actually, it circles back to a video that you and I did previously when we were doing the Tahoe, and we were talking about the engine compartment and where everything was located. I mean, even without going EV, they are building cars so that you cannot work on it yourself. Yeah. They want you to bring it into a dealership. So, I mean, it's coming whether you have a combustible engine or an EV. But, the EV would definitely be way more difficult for you to work on by yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about all the side industries. Like, you're looking at stuff. It's like, I read a report in Auto News that had a supplement talked about dealerships are really trying to brainstorm ways to get their service departments not to go under. I mean, really, like, how do we add EV stuff? How do we add more service? Because, you know, looking at brakes that last longer, tires last longer, or tires, there's been argument about tires, but brakes last longer. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on about, you know, service departments at dealerships. I'm thinking about dealerships overall are going to go through a massive transformation on EV sales, because I think a lot of dealerships in this country are not going to exist because there's no profit these days in new car sales. I've talked to multi-million-dollar people who run dealerships. They're telling me they make a little bit of money on finance. They make no money on new car sales. Used car market's still pretty good, and service is where they make their money. And now if you take away service, it's going to be what these companies are going to make their money on. I think a lot of these dealerships are going to close. And you'll have maybe more of a Carvana experience, or maybe more of a straight manufacturer experience, which may not be a bad thing.
I think you're gonna have a different kind of service department because, as you said, you know, the technical bits are gonna break, and if you are doing an over-the-air update that doesn't complete, like I don't know about you, and I was gonna grab my phone, but this is my phone right here, so I can't pick it up. But I don't know, like, if you've ever had anything go wrong with your phone and there's nothing you can do. I was at the LA Auto Show a couple years ago. I woke up one morning of a media day, and my phone had the white screen of Apple death on it. It had tried to do an over-the-air update and failed, and it wouldn't let me restart. It wouldn't let me I couldn't power it down. I could do nothing to it. And then I'm like trying to call Apple support on the phone, and they're like, well, let's send you a text message. I'm like, there can be no text message because the phone doesn't work.
Right.
So I think that, you know, your service department, instead of having like a mechanic, or like, you're still going to have one of those because brakes are going to go out and things are going to fail mechanically. But I think you're going to start staffing your service department with a bunch of geniuses, you know, like the Apple bar, and you're going to have to schedule an appointment with a genius to service your vehicle. So I don't know that aspect, that money-making aspect, is ever going to go away. It's just going to change, and you're going to have, you know, a genius on staff who fixes your vehicle or diagnoses the problem or can wire it in to reboot everything. I walked away from that with a new phone. I don't think they're just going to give me a new car whenever anything goes haywire, but you know, you don't know. But I think there's going to be a different thing.
Yeah, you know, and to Philip's point, technology has gotten better. I mean, it's gotten more and more rare that things break like that or stop working. And there are a lot of dealerships that are adding body shops. That's one of the thoughts they're doing, is they're going to start adding body shops, take away some service department, do body shop repair, keeping people employed. So you'll see a transformation there. It's just going to be interesting to see how the industry just sorts all this stuff out, and how things change. I do tell people that cars have never been more reliable than they have in the past. Like, from 1990s to today, your truck's a lot more reliable than it used to be. The challenge is that if you go to get something repaired in your truck, where it used to be like $50, now it's $500 to $1,000. a hybrid F-150. I'm scared to ever get service, like something breaks. Like, a sensor in that thing is going to be astronomical to have replaced. So I think there's some challenges there. Are we at that point? I think that's the biggest question. Are we at that point? Are we at the point where EV is going to take off? I'd like to see it. I mean, I think it would make sense. I don't know if it's good for everybody, but I do think there's situations. I think commercial fleets make a lot of sense. City makes a lot of sense. I think there's definitely some argument there. And frankly, at this point, I just want the damn thing to happen. Like, just put them on the marketplace. Like, let the consumers decide. You know, let the consumers decide with their wallets what they want. And it just, to me, that's where we're at these days. So yeah, Jill completely agrees. She's on point. All right, boys and girls.
I 100% always agree with you. What are you talking about, Tim?
Oh yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I should say more accurately. That's our show for this week. It's been an hour. It's been fun. It's been exciting. It's been all those things together. And so I do think it's the conversation is really good online, and I really appreciate you guys. Everybody's commenting. we're kind of reading a lot. There's a lot of conversations going. Anytime we talk about EVs, you get a lot of comments because people want to put in their 2 cents because it's such an exciting technology. It's exciting. It's different. And it's going to be interesting to see what you guys say when things come out. Okay? Okay. She's good. All right. And make sure you check the website out. Jill's doing amazing work over there. More stuff on the YouTube channel. More stuff coming. We'll see you guys next week. From Jill and I, we will see you down the road.